Hello and welcome to this Android Adventure tutorial brought to you by North Border Software. My name is Gary, and in this series of tutorials we're going to look at the subject of reverse geocoding. Reverse geocoding is the methodology by which we take the latitude and longitude coordinates of a device and then convert that into a physical address. There's going to be quite a few tutorials in the series. There's quite a lot to cover. You'll notice when you actually get around to testing the geocoder within the device, it can be unreliable. Often it will just stop working for no apparent reason, then just start again. So what I want to do is just look at two techniques of reverse geocoding. The first will be to use the geocoder within the device, and the backup or the fallback will be to make a HTTP call to the Google Maps API. We can use this similar methodology by passing coordinates to Google Maps and actually getting an address back in return. You will also appreciate that reverse geocoding is very approximate. You can never actually pin the coordinates to the exact address, so there will be some approximation. So what we'll do, we'll use the most accurate location possible, which is using the GPS, and that gives us a good basis to work from. So that implies that we do need to get the location of the device into the system, ready for us to be able to reverse geocode against. So we'll start the tutorial series by looking at the FusedLocation API. Now I've already done a tutorial set on the FusedLocationProviderAPI, which is part of Google Play Services. This really gives me a chance to review that tutorial because it is 2 years old, just to make sure there's no changes. There aren't in fact any significant changes, but it does allow me to just tidy things up a little bit, particularly around the runtime permissions. So what we'll do effectively, we're just going to start by looking at location-based services, and we'll recreate the tutorial set which I did with the FusedLocationProviderAPI, and then we'll go on to the geocoding itself. So what we'll do, before we actually get into the detail of reverse geocoding, it's probably worth just spending a little bit of time to better understand the FusedLocationProviderAPI. There are two methodologies for getting the device's location. There's the what is really the legacy location manager now, which has been in since API 1. And there's the FusedLocation API, that's part of Google Play Services. I think what we'll do, we'll just break out for a few seconds and just have a look at the differences between the FusedLocationProviderAPI and the Location Manager, and we'll look at the benefits of using the FusedLocationProviderAPI. There are two strategies open to the developer to considering incorporating location-based services into their application. The first is to use the Framework API. The second is to use the Google Play Services API. The Framework API uses a Location Manager. It's been available since API Level 1 and it still works today. It does not rely on Google Play Services being installed, which is a major advantage if you possess such a device. However, the recommendation is to use the Google Play Services API. This uses the FusedLocationProviderAPI, and that's been available since API Level 10. It provides better power management, and it also allows the device to automatically select the source of the location. That could be the high-powered GPS or the lower-powered mobile or Wi-Fi system using triangulation. It also has the facility for selecting a low power usage. That's where the application can actually acquire a location found by another application. In summary though, developers now should consider using the Google Play Services API for all location-based services. Whenever we consider using location-based services in an application, it's always a balancing act against the power consumed, against the accuracy of the location. The GPS is highly accurate, but it consumes a lot of battery power. On the other hand, we can balance that power consumed by using the mobile towers and Wi-Fi triangulation techniques to get the location. If we want to consume low power, then we can always try to look for a location acquired from another application. Now back to the programming. Okay, so we'll start by creating a new Android project, and I think we'll just call this Reverse Geocoder. Okay, so what we'll do, you can see I've given the package name Reverse Geocoder there. What we'll do, we'll just use a minimum of API 21. What I'll do, I'll just add an empty activity here. I prefer to use these really because there's no clutter. We can just focus on the pure bare bones program we need to get the tutorial set working. Alright, so we'll just finish this off and let this build. Okay, so the project's built now. For the remainder of this tutorial, we'll just construct the framework really for the location-based services, and then we'll go on to complete all the methods and the coding we need to make that work, and then add the runtime permissions, and then we can go into the geocoding in detail. So the first thing I want to do really is add the permissions into the Android manifest. So if we just go and find the Android manifest, we just need to add the permissions in there. So we just need to add permission for the find location. There is a course location permission as well, but if we add the find location, then the permission for the course location is automatically implied or granted. Just need the find location there, and that's really all we need to do for the manifest at this particular point in time. Okay, so let's just tidy that a little bit up. There we go. The other thing I want to do is just modify the Gradle file. We're going to have to add the dependency for Google Play services. What will happen is we put the full set of Google Play services in there. We'll have to access more than 65,000 methods. So we need to turn on the multi-dex enable to true, and that will allow the APK file to compile without any multi-dex errors. So it's just a little tip there. So we need to go and find the Gradle file. So we need to pull this one up here, and underneath the releases here, we just need to, in the default configuration, we just need to make multi-dex enable true. Okay, so what we need to do is just resync the project. Okay, so I mentioned we needed to add a dependency for Google Play services. We need to bring this into the applications. So the way I prefer to do this is to go to the project structure and just click on app here, and then you've got dependencies. We're going to add a dependency here. And it's going to be a library dependency, and now we've got some list of common libraries which you can add in. So we're looking for Google Play services, and I'll just add the full lot in there rather than the just the location-based services. Just OK that now, and you can see here that we've got this dependency now added to the Gradle file. Okay, so we'll just let that finish building, and then we'll go on and create the layout. Okay, so what I want to do now is just add the layout. We'll get rid of this text view here, so we'll just delete that. All I do is add two text views, and what we'll do then is just use one for the latitude and one for the longitude itself. So very straightforward to do. Okay, so the first one will be for the latitude. So let's just go and find a text view, and let's just drag it in here, and another one here. So we're just going to add some constraints. So I'm just constraining it to the top and to the sides. So with this one here, just constrain that to the side as well. Okay. What we'll do, we'll make these margins just a little bit bigger so we can actually see what's going on there. Alright, so all I'll do, I'll just zoom in here and just we can just have a close look, see what's going on. Okay, so it's just two text views, constrained to the top, constrained to the side, and then just constrained to each other. Just space those out a little bit more. What I'll do is just alter some of the characteristics of here. Let's just change the IDs. Make the first one latitude, and we'll just give this some default text of latitude. And we'll make this one the longitude, so we'll just call this TV longitude, and just give this a default text of longitude. Cool. So really that's all we need to do for our layout. It's as simple as that. I just want to keep it really straightforward. So we can just go into the Java programming now. What I want to do is just set up some basic objects, and we'll just go on and build some of the methods that are required for the location-based services. So first of all, let's put the objects in for the latitude and longitude text views, and these will be private. Just call it latitude text. I'm just doing Alt Enter to import that. Okay, I'm going to set up another couple of objects. We need to set up an object for the Google API client, and we also need to set up an object for the location request. And obviously a couple of objects then for the actual latitude and longitude. So I'll just get those in place, and then we can go into a bit more coding. And the latitude and longitude will be doubles, so we'll put those in as double. Okay, so what I'll do now, we'll just associate the latitude text and longitude text views with the text views in the layout. So we're just going to use the find view by ID methods. Let's just alter that one there, longitude. Okay, so it'll be latitude text. Okay, so we'll just zoom in there and just let you have a close look at the code there. So nothing unusual there. We just set up the objects, and we've associated those with the layout. Okay, so what we need to do now is set up. We need to build the Google API client. Probably the best thing to do is just get the code in, and then we'll review what we've done. So essentially, what we're trying to achieve is just set up the Google API client and relate it to the location-based services, and make references to the location-based callbacks, which will then be needed to make this particular application work. We need the Google API client builder. We just make it on this context here. That's what we need to do. So we just need to do add the API location-based services API, the connection callbacks, and the on connection failed listener, and then we'll build that. Okay, so this is what we've done. We just referenced the object Google API client, and so we're going to make a builder. So we're going to add the location-based services API. The client is referencing the location-based services. We're going to add the connection callbacks and then add the on connection failed listener, and then we built that. So you can see we've got a few errors here. So what we're going to have to do is implement a few methods. So if I just click on this, you'll see make main activity implements these connection callbacks. So let's just select this and let's see what we've got here. So the ones we're interested in is the on connected and the on connected suspended callbacks. Let's just put those in there. You'll see now the error has moved to here. We're just going to have to add a few more methods. So make the main activity implement the on connection failed listener. So it's just the one callback. We're actually interested in that point there. Okay, so what we need to do then, there's something we need to manually add in terms of the implementation, and that's the location listener. So let's just make sure up here we've got the location listener. And that's what we need to do there. Okay, so now this is throwing an error here. This is something we need to just implement here. So it just says implement methods. We've got the on location changed listener there. That's what we need to add in. So now we're pretty much building our framework. If you remember from the breakouts, I'll just format this code. If you remember from the breakouts, one of the benefits of the FusedLocationProviderAPI is that we have a high degree of control over the periods and also the power it's consumed. Obviously, we're trying to trade off accuracy against power. For the purposes of this tutorial, though, we will use the GPS, so we're going to go for high accuracy, but we will tune the intervals by which we actually go for the updates. So we need to set up the location request object, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to put the interval in here at in milliseconds. So the way I just normally do it is if I want 10 seconds, I'll do 10 times 1000. So that indicates 10 seconds. We're going to look for get a new location every 10 seconds, and that'll be from the GPS itself. We can also set up the fastest interval as well at 5 seconds. Here we could be looking to not use power and actually just nick or steal the location which might have been generated from another app and might be resident in the phone. So we can set up the fastest interval as well. So let's just set that to 5 seconds. Alright. The only other thing we need to do then is set up the priority. This is where we're going to actually instruct the app to use the GPS. We need to set the priority high accuracy. If you're using a real device, then balanced power accuracy may be a better choice. It'll be less aggressive on the battery, but for the purpose of what we want to do here, then I'm going to use the GPS only. So we just want the set priority method, and it'll be location request. Looking for the priority high accuracy here. This will also allow the emulator to work. You'll find if you select the priority balanced power accuracy, the emulator won't actually call the locations, and it won't work properly on the emulator, but it'll be fine for real devices. But if we just use this high accuracy, then the emulator works very well. I don't know why that is. If somebody knows, I'll be really interested in finding out. Okay, so let's just have a close look at this particular block of code which we've just written. So we set up a new object of the location request, and then we just set the interval by which it's going to query the GPS to 10 seconds. We also set up the fastest interval. This is where it could actually acquire the location from another application and not use any power. So we're going to check that for every 5 seconds. And then here we set the priority for the application to use the GPS. So we set it to high accuracy as opposed to low power accuracy or balanced power accuracy. So I think from that perspective, I think really that's the basic framework constructed. What I'll do, I'll leave this tutorial here for now. We'll go on to fill in the or do the coding for the callback methods and get the location to work. So hopefully you found this tutorial useful, and catch you in the next one. Bye for now. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you find this tutorial useful. All the project files and source code are available for download on my website. Thank you.